Hey guys, what's up? This is Cyclonic here, bringing you guys a video today about how I joined the NBA 2K League and the NBA's graphics team. For those who don't know, I've been contracted by NBA Entertainment, which is effectively the emerging media team for the NBA that handles all the graphics, and I work closely with many of the people in the 2K League to put out the sort of graphics that the Twitter, for example, of the NBA 2K League puts out daily. So what happened there was, after doing a lot of work for the 2K community, I finally put together a resume, like a graphics resume that showed a bunch of my work on one side, a bunch of my skills on the other side, and basically an objective statement saying I wanted to be a part of the 2K League. And the very next day, I believe, I got an email from someone on the NBA's graphics team asking me if I was interested in a position with the league. So with that being said, there's a lot of requests I've gotten for a video like this to give out some tips and tricks as to what's the best way to grind to join the 2K League, either a specific team or the league overall in a graphics capacity. So hopefully this video is informative and helps you along your journey with that. So for this first topic, I get a lot of questions regarding if I've taken any classes, if I need a degree of some sort that's design related to be able to pursue an opportunity like this. For me personally, the answer is no. I am a completely self-taught designer. Now, what that means is that aside from maybe a few YouTube videos and help obviously from various other designers giving me feedback on my work and showing me different stuff, most of my learning was through just playing around in Photoshop and trying to get better, just doing a lot of work. Regardless of whether or not I was being commissioned for something, a day wouldn't go by where I wouldn't be doing some type of thing in Photoshop or Premiere Pro for a mixtape or something like that. So I think that passion is important where, it's great if you're good enough to the point where, it's enjoyable but you can still make money from it. That's obviously the goal. Get yourself multiple revenue streams. But at the same time, you can't be completely driven by that money, or it's going to become very clear that you won't do well if there isn't money provided there. So I think having that inner passion is extremely important to being successful and making it through to this kind of opportunity and showing that you're someone who's worthy of this opportunity. So for the next topic, I'm sure this is a question that is on a lot of people's minds, is what sort of work and whom should I be doing this type of work for to ensure that I gain the exposure I need for the NBA or the NBA 2K League to notice me. So my first answer to that would be in terms of the sort of work you should be doing. Anything goes that can show your talent. So I mainly made my grind based off of headers. I also threw some wallpapers in there, a few mixtapes for certain players, but my main tool to grind with was the headers to show my versatility with design, the different things I could do in Photoshop. You're less likely to be doing just straight headers for a team. A lot of the work that the designers will be doing is more social media oriented, where it's like promotional posts and stuff like that. So for example, with the 2K League, I was taking care of a lot of the MVP award graphics, those type of things that they're posting regularly daily to their social media channels. That's what you'll be ending up doing, but there's also a certain common sense there to not necessarily give away all of your creative ideas right there on the Twitter feed. You save that to help the team who actually picks you up, or help whatever entity picks you up. But putting out headers and stuff like that, that's still a great way to show off your ability to make clean professional designs, and also then protect your intellectual property in that sense, to give it to the people who matter. Now, as to whom you should be doing this work for, I think that it is important for people to maintain a transparent approach. So most people, I would assume, would just be happy to work for any team in the league or work for the league as a whole. So maintain a transparent approach where you're doing like a little bit of work for this team, a little bit of work for that team, etc. If you're really a fan of a certain team, by all means, center your grind on joining them, and that definitely has value to the team, where they're like, okay, this person's really set themselves apart because they really want to be a part of us. If they have a spot, great, it all works out. But that value I was talking about that sets yourself apart, that slowly diminishes for every new team you try that on if the previous teams don't have a spot for you. So that's a pitfall that can occur, and that's what I would warn against. So I personally just spread my work around for different teams to show off my skill to the entire league. The other aspect to this is whether you do work specifically for the teams or you target the players. And I think a good idea would be to make work for the players, because the idea here is that teams are a little weird with their Twitter account. They can't necessarily acknowledge all the fan art necessarily. So what could be good is to not only make relationships with the players, but they'll also be followed by the team brass. So based on that, if the players are to RT your work and show support, give it more exposure, the right people will be seeing it anyways, and you make more of a name for yourself in the community. Once you start doing work for one league player, other league players will see it like, oh, I really like your work, let me come to you, and that's how you really start getting your name more out there. So, as I mentioned, the players can tend to be easier to interact with than the team Twitter accounts for various reasons. Now, what comes along with that is an opportunity for the designers to interact more with the players, not just on a design basis, but I would hope that if you're trying to go for a league position, you're also very interested in the league in general. You keep up with it, you know the players, that kind of stuff. And so I think it's very important that you engage with the community, not even just the league players, but everyone in the pro-am community, for example, because that's where a lot of these players are coming from. Engage, become known in that community, not just for design stuff, but as for being an overall cool persona. I think that's very important to get that branding for yourself, where people know who you are, not just as a designer, but as a person. They know your characteristics, that kind of stuff. That's very important to stay in people's heads and become a go-to person for any sort of design needs and stuff. People are more likely to be willing to do business with you if you give off more of that human persona rather than being some computer entity behind a screen. And it's something I've definitely noticed as I've started to do more stuff to get myself out there. People now know me much more as Cy than Cyclonic. So it really, I think it really helps to make sure you're engaging with the community. You want the community to engage with your work, you better be engaging with the community to get yourself out there, get yourself the exposure you want. My last topic here will be centered around the 2K community. A couple notes that I think are important. You don't necessarily have to agree with these are just my personal opinion, of course, but I think they're important and they're based on my experience from being in the community for a decent amount of time. So as many of you might know, the 2K community is a smaller community than like Fortnite or COD, for example, and it's also a younger community. Now, what's great about that is that it's much easier to get yourself known throughout the community by doing work, but the pitfall here is that being a younger community, we haven't seen a lot of stuff. We don't have the experience necessarily that these COD and Fortnite designers, for example, do. We don't have that sort of varied design approach in our styles. You'll see a lot of 2K headers have the same sort of style, same components, that sort of thing. We're starting to break out of it a little bit more. It was really bad around like 2K17 where you had the same style. Oh, everyone put 3D text, put a my player character here, put socials here, and that was basically it, and then throw a bunch of layers in the background and stuff like that. Some of those have turned out well. Some of those I can still look back on and say, oh, this is a nice header, but at the same time, it's important to not be contained in this bubble where you're designed to a particular style just because the 2K community thinks it's good. I heavily advise you to go and follow designers from other communities, other well-known designers, see what they're doing, because especially when you're getting into the big leagues like the NBA and stuff, the design style is a lot different. You'll see people commenting on various posts being like, oh, I can't see the text necessarily this well, or I can't see the socials that well, and some designers might tend to brush it off and be like, it's cool, it's just a design, you don't necessarily have to see all that. I will tell you now, utility when it comes to these social media teams for the 2K League is extremely important. If a design is great and colorful but you can't see the information you're supposed to see, it's an automatic no-no. They will have you change the design. So if you want to go for an opportunity like this, I think it's very important that as much as design is, opinion-based, art is in the eye of the beholder, all that good stuff, there's also ways that you'll need to learn how to rein yourself in, make things simpler and cleaner, and also just realize that the 2K community isn't the be-all and end-all for how we're judging our design. So I think that's very important, and we're getting better at that as more people from who weren't originally in the 2K community for a while are starting to come in and kind of add their stuff to the table, to the melting pot. And then another quick topic that I want to discuss is how often to post. That's a question I haven't gotten as much, but it's just something I've learned along the way. I would suggest that you post once a day or once every 2 days, and not more than that if you want to get your work out there, because I think it saturates the amount of support you're going to get if you post multiples in one day. People are likely to, want to like and retweet one of your posts here and there, but to do multiple on the same day, at the end of the day, people most likely want their feeds to be mostly their stuff and not just a bunch of retweets of someone else's work. So because of that, I would recommend once a day or once every 2 days, and that way you're not infrequent to the point where people will forget that you can do work, but you're not so frequent that people will get tired. I remember at one point, Posty High Demand, who may be a familiar name to a lot of you, he was posting once every day right around 5 or 6 p.m. and I used to get excited, let me see, I guess Posty must have made his graphic design post by now, let's see what he did, let's see what cool thing he did now. And you can create that sort of anxiety, you can create that sort of anticipation, I should say, with a regular post like that, and make sure that people constantly remember, hey, Cyclonic, he exists, he does great work, I really like that banner he dropped yesterday, he does quality work, let me go to him. And in that way you then expand your network as more people see your work. So just a couple of notes that I think are really important when dealing with the 2K community. Yes, I am aware that I said that the last segment would be the last topic, but I guess we'll consider this an extension off of that. On a serious note, though, I thought it would be a good idea in this portion to kind of shout out some of the mentors I've had and also explain why they were so necessary along my path. And by mentors, I just mean people that have kind of influenced my my path in a way that have given me, may help me grow as a person and make my work better and my persona better. So first person, I really cannot believe I'm shouting him out in a video. I know I will regret it. Enjoy the free clout, Glizzy. But yeah, Fear Glizzy, one of the people who showed me that doing something like this was even possible. The grind and work that he put in was amazing, and he still impresses me now with a lot of the work he does. We've had the opportunity to kind of work together with the 2K League now that he's a part of the team, the 2K League graphics team as well. So shout out to him for that. Another person who was incredibly critical of my work before, but without this help from at Jared Arts, without his critical synopsis of my work, I would never have improved. He was always trying to get me to make my work a lot cleaner, a lot more professional, and I was one of the people that would always try to do too much to impress people, try to put too many layers, put too much stuff in there, and I can look back at my work now and realize how cringe a lot of that stuff was. And Jared is one of the biggest reasons, because he was so critical of my work, I always tried to impress him, and he's one of the biggest reasons I've grown. Your usual suspects in the community that have helped a lot of people helped me gain exposure as well, and helped me from a mindset perspective. Famous Enough, OG King Kurt, LT2K, Toxic Bangs, of course, Leader Viball. So I say all this to drive home the point that it's important to get in a group of like-minded people. And like-minded not in that they are all trying to do your style of work, but like-minded that they're all trying to achieve something and make everyone better, collaborate together, have that same drive and passion. So that's why I really like Eyeball's design team, because we're all a group of like-minded people that can help each other grow design-wise. I think that's extremely important to that. And then before I forget, one of the early on guys who's now diverged to a different side of design but really helped me get started in the esports area, Posty High Demand. I've mentioned him before, but he really showed me how to get better quality out of my work and gave me a lot of tips, so very thankful for the help he's given me. So with that all being said, yeah, conclusion time. Alright, so hopefully the tips and tricks, the topics I've covered, they'll be useful to you guys along your grind if you decide you want to be joining a 2K League team or the 2K League overall. as teams get more of a budget, and as the 2K League gets more of a budget, they'll always be looking to add more content creators, designers, editors to their payroll. And so, believe me when I tell you this, they're always looking. Someone like Francis OKC, for example, not encouraging you guys to go and blow up his mentions with a bunch of work, but what I'm saying is that they are always looking, and there is a reason that many people from Eyeball are working with the league in a design capacity. So keep that in mind. You know, you'll hear players talking about marketability all the time, and you'll think, oh, that means I have to be all really professional and stuck up. It's not like you just start only tweeting designs or you don't develop your persona, but it's honestly as simple as just don't be tweeting stupid, inappropriate stuff. Just don't do it to yourself, all right? That's about how simple it is. And so, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, please, if you enjoyed this, please feel free to leave a like, subscribe, throw any video requests in the comments, and I hope to see y'all later. Peace!